Welcome to episode 2 of Chronicles from the Underhive. My name's Tom.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Eren.
And as you can hear, we actually have 3 podcasters today. Eren went to the Eshes and got his pens, and now he's all clear.
Yeah, all clear now.
So now we're all going to stare at him while he comes into class for the first time and introduces himself, because we all had our go.
Yeah, well, good go. So, I've been collecting Warhammer 40k since 2nd edition, like Tom and Michael here. And mostly played through school with friends, and as time goes on, things get in the way, like exams and beer. Not so much the girls around then. And it kind of gets pushed into the back of the cupboard and becomes sort of like another thing that you have that you never kind of get back to. Fast forward a few years, I came across the Overlords podcast, and I sort of started getting back into it. I was like, yeah, I could do this Warhammer thing again. And it was at a time where I was going through like a redundancy period at work, and I needed something to get my mind off all the chaos that was going on, and 40k was sort of the right medicine I needed just to keep me sane. So my first intention was to buy and paint and sell some of the models just to get a bit of income if worse comes to worse. But in the end, we were all okay, and it became this thing that's kind of flourished over the years. And round about that time, a few other guys were doing the same thing at my work. They needed something to get their mind off all the chaos that was going on. And you guys might know him out there as Jamie Jackson, The Route, and Metal Mike. So we all got together and started playing. We devised these huge campaigns, and around Leamington Spa it became this huge Warhammer community. You had Brian, Templars Crusade around there, and they hosted these huge Battle for Terror games that they're all over the internet at the moment. So it was a great time for us actually. And yeah, I've been collecting and playing ever since. So it's been 8-9 years and still going strong.
Awesome. I met Jamie, he's a really cool dude.
Yeah. We used to play around his house quite a bit. He's got crazy boards and he's got a lot of space. So most of the time we're around there playing 40k. And yeah.
Sounds pretty sweet.
So what about Necromunda and stuff?
Necromunda, well, I remember my first White Dwarf was 198. I still remember that. It had the White Dwarf on the front, and that's where I first saw Necromunda, the game. And I was like, wow, this could be cool. Like, got gangs of people fighting over terrain and ammo boxes or whatever. And it was something I wanted to collect, but no one in my sort of area was like into it. As it's sort of come about again, I think this is a great time to start up again, especially when everyone's really hyped about it. So being a noob and getting back into it would be a great thing.
Excellent.
Are you sure it wasn't just because of the manly Goliath?
Oh yeah, the manly. Well, the first ever book that I bought was the Citadel miniatures book, the old school one where you can pick out the bits that you want to buy and you send it.
Yeah.
The old, that's it. The old catalogue. And they had the big Goliath dude at the front. And I thought, oh, he's cool, man. It would be cool to collect them. So yeah, the Goliaths, they look like my favourite. I like their background. They just like to fight in hand-to-hand combat, and there's this big muscly dude with big cleavers and massive hammers. So yeah, I think they're gonna be my guys.
Yeah, and it'll be your cosplay.
Yeah, it'll be my cosplay.
Necromunda Comic-Con.
Just turn up in one.
Right, got my cod piece.
Yeah, got my cod piece and my boots, and that's all I need.
I'll be out of sleep.
Well, good introduction. We're ready now for the confirmed news. Okay, welcome to segment 2. It's the confirmed news, and we actually this time have some news to be confirmed. So,
and it's relevant.
Yeah. So the White Dwarf was really helpful. Very awesome release of that, and we've all had time to pull through everything. And I know that Eren has done some very detailed notes about the costs. So,
yeah.
so greatly, I get to link to him. I'm really happy we've got a third podcaster to take some of the stuff off me.
Yeah, so what have we got? We got the box, which comes with everything you need to sort of get into Necromunda. So that's at £75. So that comes with your 20 models, it comes with the dice. The templates are back, which, you know, I really like the idea of templates being in the game again. That comes with all the markers. Does it come with
board tiles and
board tiles?
Scenery, which
The scenery's like really cool. All the bulkheads, all the bits that were broken.
You've also got individual cards rather than having a gang roster. You've got individual cards for each of the models.
Yeah,
which makes bookkeeping, I think, a little bit easier.
It does.
Yeah.
It also adds this kind of personal element to all of the characters. So each character has got a name and a stat line. Just makes it a little bit more individual, a bit personal.
Yeah, no, it's really. I think it's helpful as well, because if no one can remember what one of your guys does, they can just have a look at the card quickly.
Exactly.
It says all the actions, all the skills, and I guess you can then make notes each time you take a loss of like a wound or whatever. You can quickly just notch it on.
Yeah, exactly, with the pencil.
Well, I'll certainly be photocopying a job lot of the blank ones, because there's supposed to be blank ones in the box set as well.
Yeah.
I'll just photocopy a job lot of them, and then every time you update it, or it's got too many scribble crossed out marks on it, then you write out a fresh one, don't you?
Unless GW don't want us to photocopy them. They haven't done that, and I've bought them all from Games Workshop.
Obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if that's £75, you're going to be looking from a third party seller probably about £60 then, aren't you?
Yeah, so I usually go down to Dark Sphere.
That's in Central London, isn't it?
Yeah, that's in Central London. And I usually grab my stuff from there. It's just a little bit cheaper. It's about 20 to 25% cheaper. So, you know, if you're on a bit of a tight budget, it's a great place to visit. Or you can order from online, and it's even cheaper online as well. You might have to pay a bit postage and packing, but if you do a big bulk order, that comes in at a much lower price. So, handy tip for you guys out there.
And then obviously if you're in different countries, you'll have other ways of trying to find ways around this, because we've had some downloads from very distant areas of the globe. Yeah, I think Sweden, Australia, America, and I'm going to have a look back through my phone again.
Oh, it's good. We're stretching our tendrils.
I must remember, if I go on holiday somewhere, anywhere around the world, just
download it.
I just download it anyway.
Yeah.
I'll ask my in-laws to download it from Japan.
We need t-shirts and mugs. That's the next...
I was actually looking at personalised t-shirts. I was like, oh no, what have I become?
Yeah. It's all become corporate now. yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll have our own table and everything. Just us three sitting there. So what else we got? We've got the first supplement. So that introduces the Jews. Yeah. And also, I guess everyone has different ways of pronouncing these. So. And that's full of, so that comes with a full list for Goliath and Asia. So all the characters, I'm guessing, are not in the actual box game. So you might get a few extra
I know it's
characters.
Got the rules for doing 3D terrain.
Yeah.
What happens when because there's going to be rules like what happens when you get shot and you fall off high. And then the progression system, so that they can gain experience and bits and pieces, because that I don't believe is in the rules. Basically,
I was also under the impression it was going to have the gang listings as such for the other houses, which I kind of hope that it does. Although I can't say I've seen that explicitly written.
No, I don't think it's written. That'll probably be in the next supplement.
I can't. I mean, that's the problem is with the guessing bits and pieces is that if it's not in that book, the gangs. Then where will you be getting this from?
So it's going to be another. There has to be another supplement somewhere else.
And I would imagine that would have been the thing that would be available on release, because everyone will be doing more than just Escher and Goliath. Yeah. So I'd hope that at least the six houses were there anyway, even if it wasn't Arbites and all of those bits and pieces. As long as the main six were in there, then I'd be happy to start with as a basis.
I don't know if they're going to bring in stuff like mercenaries, like you have in Infinity, where you can bring sort of mercenaries into your gang.
I definitely read in White Dwarf there'd be hired guns. And
that's it. Yeah.
And that's why the Forge World bits will be, is that like with Blood Bowl, you have your plastic dudes to start with, and then you add flavour to it after.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool.
So that's the first supplement, and that's 1750. And again, that will be available in places like Darksphere, 42K.
Element Games do it as well.
Yeah, so Element Games, all those kind of places. Yeah, if you're on a bit of a tight budget, go for it. The next is all the terrain. So this White Dwarf is full of stuff.
It's a proper Christmas wish list, isn't it?
Wow, it's just low. It was like a few pages of stuff, and then you flick to the back, and there's just more stuff, and it's great. It's beautiful.
What I found interesting was the fact that for release day or for pre-order, the boxed gangs are available individually outside of the boxed game.
Yeah,
and also the terrain that's in it. The box is also available outside of the box game.
Yeah.
And even the dice, you've got specific dice for the two gangs, which I guess are different to the ones that are perhaps in the box.
Yeah, you can get colours as well, so you can personalise to that gang. So you've got the basic ones that will be in the box, and then you can have set colours after that will be specific for your gangs. If you want to personalise it really far, you can get colours
which will be of interest to people that aren't necessarily going to buy the box set, and they think, well, actually I've already got my Cordor gang or whatever they've got. They'll just wait for a release of some dice to come out that's specific for their gang, and they'll treat themselves to that, and away they go.
It's just about acquiring the rule book, isn't it?
Yeah, I was wondering, do you actually need this box set, or can you just buy the individual, like your gang, your terrain?
At the moment, it looks like you're going to be. There's no other way to get the rules
other than getting
because the supplement, I don't believe, has the actual core rules in it. So you're going to need the rule book from the core box set. Unless they're going to plan to release that once they've got the bulk of their Necromunda releases out. Or you're going to be looking for second-hand options.
I'm sure eBay will be flooded with all of this.
Potentially, yeah. The way that I'm tackling it is, at the moment, I just can't afford to get the box set. It's coming up for Christmas and everything else. And there's other things I need to do.
Of course.
But I'm definitely going to get the Gang War book, because that will allow me then to create my gangs to the right format with the right options and everything else. And all I need to do is find an opponent that has got the box set, and then I can go to a club and play against them.
I think that might be me, because my birthday's coming up. The only problem was that my car imploded a couple of days ago.
We saw,
So I'm using the wife's one at the moment, and it's fine, but we're trying to get used to having one car, so we can't book two different things at the same time. But this was, thankfully, because it's my birthday, I then don't have to shell out for it. So. And I think what I was saying to Michael before was the difficulty is going to be is that no one's really going to buy this box set and not want the rules, which is why I think the rule book will actually probably be the hardest thing to find on eBay. Whereas the boards, people might say, well, I want the rules and the cards, but I don't want the Zone Mortalis bit. That'll
probably be me.
But the rules will be something that I think that everyone wants, so they might buy the box set, sell everything else, because you can buy your squads separately, like Michael was saying. But the rules are the rules, and unless you want to break the law and try and find them any other way, the rules, if they're not separate, might be the only way to do it.
I'll get a sneaking suspicion that we're going to see a kind of limited release like the Shadow Wars. Not where it goes out of print instantly, because they know they've got a 2-week lead on this, which is unheard of. Well, not since 8th edition 40k. So I suspect that at some point in the near future, whether it's 6 months or a year down the line, they're going to stop. They're going to delist the Necromunda box set. They'll probably start to then sell the rulebook just as a one-off thing they can put on a shelf somewhere, or it will just be a digital download.
I mean, the thing is, if I buy the box set, I might not keep the models, and they might be the things that I sell. Because I have Goliaths, and then I'm just going to then start looking at now what are the new guns, and then converting my Esches and my Goliaths that I already have to work out different ways to have the rivet gun that the Goliaths have and those giant hammers and giant things, which I don't currently have. Because I noticed that none of them really have two-handed flails and stuff like they did in the old one, so it might just be that I do a bit of cutting and swapping and the two-handed flail now becomes a massive hammer, and then I just have to look at third-party options to make a massive mallet and stuff.
Well, once you have a look through the that gang war book, you might find that those weapon options are still in there, and then you don't have to do that unless you really desperately want the new toys.
And I mean, I do love Zone Mortalis myself, so I'm actually okay with the tiles as well as the 3D.
I'm not a big fan of Zone Mortalis. I don't know, it's those tight spaces. Because I'm a big Blood Angels player, most of my guys are jump packs.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
dangerous.
It's like bonk.
You rolled a one and felled your arm and you smashed your face into the wall.
Yeah.
I think because mine were custodes and I like hiding in corners. They're horrible in Zone Mortalis. They're if you see a golden thing come down the corner, then you run away.
Yeah.
But no, I do love myself a bit of Zone Mortalis, but everyone's different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I do still love the 3D stuff too, but it's great that I'm going to see if I can manage to get Rachel to play a game.
Whoa!
I don't think it's going to happen, but I will try.
Start banging the models together. I've seen that.
And then I'll be like, hey, this December episode I managed to get my wife to play a game. I might turn a corner, it might actually be perfect, but we'll see.
Well, if it turns out you don't want the tiles, Eren, then
I'll
have first refusal on them.
Yeah.
Sweet. Cool. And so is there...
we've got terrain, which we've mentioned.
Not even just the expanding on that. There's another couple of terrain sets in the box which are primarily designed for 40k, but they also work with Necromunda. I can't think. Let's skim down the thermic plasma conduits and the thermic plasma reactors. They look absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah.
And only like 17 quid or 15 quid for the set. So it's not even a huge amount of money, especially if you're getting them from a third party, to get that extra discount. So
definitely, and I've bought the chipping medium, and I've always wanted to give that a go. So
this is perfect time to chip away. Yeah.
We're all furiously flicking through our white dwarfs now, just in case you're hearing some.
Yeah, I haven't really had a chance to go through all of it. I've kind of read the Necromunda parts. I haven't read the battle report. Oh, there we go.
If anyone care to look. So the plasma conduits is basically an expansion of the pipework system that they've got, like the Promethean pipework set, but except they've got some glowing plasma bits and pieces. So you're going to get a similar amount of content as what you got in that box, and that's $22.50. So you're looking at probably 16 quid from a third party seller, and then the thermic plasma reactors, which look like really cool pieces just to put down into a bit of scenery or build something around them, and that's only 15 quid. So for me, that looks like pretty good little kits.
Yeah, they do look really cool.
And they'll also, that thermic plasma reactor will probably work in some other post-apocalypse games as well, because it looks suitably sci-fi.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to go near that thing because it's going to blow you up.
Or you can somehow siphon the plasma into your plasma cannon and hopefully not blow your arms out.
Yeah, they look pretty cool.
So I'm liking the look at those.
I do like their bases that they've set aside for this as well.
Yeah, so they come in at what? £4 for, I'm thinking 10.
For 10. And that to me seems quite reasonable. It's like 40 pence a base. So I think that's quite reasonable. I do have a question though, because the pictures I've seen of the models in the box set, all the painted figures have been shown with the textured bases, with those fancy bases. But I can't see anything that says they actually come with those in the box set.
Yeah,
the Goliath gang being sold separately on its own, it says that they do come with the fancy bases.
Right.
But the Escher gang, it doesn't make any mention of the bases. So I do wonder whether they're actually incorporated in the sprue or not. I don't know.
Oh yeah, they might actually be.
Well, I know that with most Games Workshop releases, there's always like a little plastic thing inside, and that has the bases.
Yeah, so they could, and for £4 they could probably slip those inside.
Yeah.
I don't know. We wait and see. It's not going to be a game changer. But
no.
I'd certainly like to get the textured base because these models really are only going to get used for Necromunda or another game. They're not going to need to fit in with my 40k stuff.
Yeah, I mean with mine, I bought. I went and bought the 60 Sector Imperialis bases. So it's a mix of that metal sort of style, but also with some concrete bits added in.
Yeah.
And I think I paid about £18 for that, and I think it's 20 originally from Games Workshop, or between 20 and 25. And that was for 60, so that will do me for all my games currently.
If you're going to rebase all the stuff you've currently got, then...
Yeah, my commitment for this month will be trying to paint all those 60 in one hit. Because then, I think the benefit is if I know what I'm painting, once the paint model's painted, all I then have to do is stick it to the base. Rather than then right now I'm going to have to go through, and hopefully if I can batch paint 60, I can spray them all in one go. I can end up the chip and medium all in one go, and then paint, and so hopefully
you get the consistency across
even though I'll drive myself insane for a month, it will actually speed up the process of then not having to do now I've got to make 10 more bases, and so hopefully once I've done that, then I can pat myself on the back and be like, well, that's my bases done for 6 months. I don't have to touch anything now.
Wow. I only paint in like groups of, what did I say, 5? 3 or 5.
I see you painting groups of 1.
Groups of 1. Yeah, I'll never do that again. You kind of end up with inconsistent models. You might end up with one that looks really good, one a little bit different. So yeah,
I think this game really could well suit your painting style, because by your own admission you are slow, but that's because you're so finicky on getting a really good finish.
It's because I come from an art background, so I'm really anal about it.
I'm slightly less than you.
But your 40k army is like the tyranny stuff that you've shown before.
Yeah.
Effectively, it's kind of like a horde army, so that's like the anti-slow painter
I
army.
know,
Isn't it?
yeah.
You need a hyper elite army if you're going to be that.
Yeah, I'm kind of amazed that I've got a Tyrannid army that's fully painted.
Yeah, but it's got 10 models in it.
No,
it's one squad.
No, there's quite a lot actually. It's filled up about 5 KR cases, I think.
Blimey.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to send my Death Watch over.
Yeah, we've got to do this game still, yeah.
You must be older than you look.
He's a year below me, unfortunately.
but with the Necromunda, if you're only going to have 10, at the most 20 in a whole gang, then that's a realistic achievement, really, isn't it?
Or you could be Spire Hunters and you have like 5.
Yeah. 5 would be perfect.
Yeah. Literally half the amount of time inside.
Yeah, exactly. It'll only take me a couple of weeks for 5.
So the bases, is there anything
So
else?
we've got gang cards, which are gang-specific tactics. So I don't know what that is.
That's got to be in addition to what's in the box, because I get the impression in the box set there's a generic set of cards and then a couple of individual ones for the 2 gangs, and these have got to be expanded ones, perhaps to coincide with the campaign system where you can get more upgrades and different options and stuff.
It's really cool because it looks like kind of like the stratagems in 40k where you kind of burn through the other set of cards. So I know that I saw one in the battle report or somewhere in the White Dwarf where there was one where he gets to slam one of the people put down, someone was going through the door, and then they put the door in and it slammed on them. And then they rolled really badly and it ended up killing that model.
Awesome.
So you then have these cards ready, and then if someone does something, it'll be like, well, your gun's jammed, so now you've got to see what happens and stuff like that.
I think they're what they use for the balancing act when you've got uneven sides.
Yeah, that'll be a good idea.
I think you get extra ones of those
if your gang's a bit less.
If your gang's got a lower rating than the other side, which I think is great, because it gives gives the underdog that moment where they could just about pull something out of the bag and get themselves out of a hole.
You'd end up calling yourself, like, if you were the rubbish ones, you'd end up calling yourself like the Black Cats, because any big team that they go against has the worst luck for that game. Like, the door slams into them, the gun blows up. Damn it, what's happening?
But I think it's these elements that make a game great.
Yeah,
because nothing goes according to plan, and it's these little kind of bits that send your enemy crazy that kind of really make it, and it's something that you can discuss in the pub later on.
I think it also keeps away the really ultra competitive elements as well, because they detest all the random stuff that they haven't got any control over.
Certainly, yeah.
So it lends itself much better to a free flowing, friendly atmosphere where you just roll with the punches and and shrug off and laugh about anything ridiculous that happens.
I think the only time would be is if you've had like a gang for like 4 months and one guy survived the whole lot and then someone puts a card down and they blow their face out and you're like, no!
That's always been the case, though, isn't it?
Yeah, just make sure you take the photo of the person rolling on the floor and then you can post that up on the Facebook group as well.
So I think that's it for the Necromunda dump.
Okay.
We have, I'm going to put this in, a Tyranids Codex coming out.
Ah, boo. Tyranids.
As long as they can fit a Tyranid army into Necromunda, then that's fine by us.
Yeah.
But then I've been always trying to work out how to get my Gene Stealer cult models, because my Vans are based on the Gene Stealer cult models, and they still kind of at the moment have their Gene Stealer logos on. But from what I understand, Gene Stealer cults break into hives and try and influence themselves anyway. So there's no. I might even keep it in as part of the of that thing is that they're in there.
I wouldn't be surprised if they, because the Gene Stealer Codex obviously isn't on the horizon just yet.
No,
which obviously has upset a number of people in the Gene Stealer cult.
Michael Finn.
Well, to be honest, I'm not that fussed because I'm not playing 40k a huge amount at the moment. I'm not that bothered that I haven't got a brand new shiny Codex, but. A number of codexes have come out so far, and Gene Stealer Cult will come out at some point.
Yeah.
And if Necromunda's in full swing at the same time, it's not going to take very much for Games Workshop to also say, well, look, you can also use them in Necromunda.
Yeah.
They've only got to produce some cards and a basic stat line, or whatever they're doing, and a deck of cards. Job done.
Yeah. Okay, apart from the dirty nids.
What else have we got? We've got Eldari, and that's... what else? We've got the Battle Journal, which I've heard Michael is a big fan of.
No.
What is that?
I'm not interested in that.
Is that the old stuff?
No, it's a notebook of 200 odd pages where you can record all the games and battles you have.
Oh Christ, I've never seen that before.
And my input for that is I'll never have 200 games. So I'm never ever going to fill that book up.
Sounds like a book of grudges. Can you imagine if a historian dug it up in years past and be like, this person's had battles with orcs?
I think I'd be happier to buy it if it was just a nicely covered book like it is, just with plain paper inside. With lined paper, and then I can write army lists or ideas for armies and
Necromunda fan
and
fiction.
stuff. Yeah, just stuff like that, and just have a nice cover. Yeah. But because it's specifically printed for gang rosters or battle report information, I'm never going to buy that.
But the fan fiction of when Eren entered the Pleasure Dome, it's all been selling. It'd be the whole point of why he missed the last episode.
Maybe we could run a rescue mission.
Get
out of there.
I don't want to leave.
I'm like locked in a room.
A big Sally model now.
So that comes in at 15 of your English pounds, which is a little bit, overpriced, I think, for a book of 200 pages of paper.
Yeah.
We also have the paint handle, which I love.
Oh yeah.
For £5, I think it's brilliant.
It's cheaper than going to Wayne Summers, I'm sure.
Yeah, and just sticking a cocktail stick in the top. It took me a second to work out what Michael was going on about. But then, he's talking about that.
What is
Do you
it?
find they help? I've never used one.
I tend to use toothpicks in Oasis or some sort of foam. I've never used cork before or anything like that. That's the way I work. So this paint handle might be cool. You can adjust it to different base sizes, which I think is brilliant. So that's that. We have a painting mat. So you can essentially spill something on it and you can wipe it up. And
has it got a little funnel in the corner so you can just tip it up and funnel out your known oil that you've spilled over?
Yeah, so it's always spilling. I think that's it. So there's a big dump of stuff. And this month and I'm guessing December are going to be very expensive months for us.
No, that's good.
Trying to convince our wives why we need those things. No, it's a new version of the same game. You don't understand.
You don't understand. No.
I know Michael's twitching. I think he's got something.
He's got the bug.
Not so much twitching, but there's different things as well to pick out from that White Dwarf. Like reading between the lines on some of the articles they've got in there. there was a reference to saying that the games are going to be equally interchangeable between the 2D and the 3D formats, which I think is really good for people that are short on time to throw out a couple of game tiles on a board on a table and quickly rattle through a relatively small game. It's not going to take up too much of your time if you've only got an hour or hour and a half to spare. Whereas if you're trying to set up 3D terrain and stuff, getting things out of boxes or assembling terrain if you've got take apart stuff, then you really need sort of half a day to realistically get a game. You know, so I think it's good if you desperately want to play a game with your mate and you haven't got a lot of time because you've got to shoot off out somewhere, then just play it on the 2D format, and then when you've got more time, expand it.
And I think this will be the sort of thing that they'll use to try and bring people in who've never played the game before. So instead of chucking in all the 3D stuff and then all the extra rules, it's like, well, these are the game turns and bits and pieces. The board's out, let's go, and then you can play. And that's hopefully what I'll try and use to convert Rachel to play in a game. Will be on the tiles and here we go sort of thing, rather than this is 3D, you can shoot through here and out there, and it just is a bit too much for a first timer.
No, I think that's a good call. What else have we got? I like the idea that you don't necessarily field your entire gang for a game. It's very much like the Deathwatch Overkill setup, where the Deathwatch, for each mission, it says you've got 9 models in the box, but for this mission you pick 4 models or you pick 5 models, and you can pick whichever ones you want. And it would be the same for this, for the gangs. You can pick out of your 10-man starting roster, a particular mission might say that you need to have 6 models. So you can pick and choose, which then means that as a self-contained boxed game, even if you're playing the same mission, if you select different models each time for your gang, then you're going to have a different gaming experience. So you won't get tired of those 6 missions as quickly, because you can say, well, this game I'm only going to include close combat guys, or this game I'm only going to include shooting guys, or whatever you wish.
And then also the freedom to, if it is random as well, if you like pick 4 random players from your team, it also throws that up, because you're like, oh no, I've got my heavy with his battle cannon trying to go down the tiny corridor and he's probably going to blow himself out or whatever. Sounds rude. Yes, I think like I do like the randomness of the whole thing. I'm not in. I don't know. I know a lot of people when it's competitive, I want to know how many shots I fire at any one point and this and that. But it's fun, and I think because both sides could potentially, their gun can blow up, or they could fire 50 shots and then they don't actually wound, and then someone roll. There's so much randomness. It's more of a fun game. It's not supposed to be taken as like you've got to win at all costs, blah blah blah. It's more of a narrative sort of, let's see what happens to this group of guys, and then one guy's left that you can't get rid of, but because he's still only got one arm, but you can't get any, you haven't got any more credits to buy anyone else, and all these bits and pieces, and it's just those sorts and then he trips over and then smashes his face and that loses a wound, and it's just all of those things that make you can actually talk about it. Like we can talk in a podcast once we've played a game about the most ineffective.
You start making your own narrative, don't you? So go from there. But I think it's great. I really like that concept of not having to include all your gang, because it also then means that someone isn't outnumbered, because that can be a factor in games. If you've got a certain number of guns shooting at your opponent and your opponent's got twice as many guns, then just law of averages, they're going to be wiping your guys out faster than you can wipe them out. But then obviously that brings in an underdog situation, which hopefully these cards might help to redress.
That'd be really cool. I think in regards to the costs of stuff, I think we're good. Should we have a quick break and then we can go into the actual how the game will run, watch from what the videos we've watched?
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Okay, time for a break. So welcome back after that quick break. This is still part of Confirmed News, but we're going to have a quick chat about some of the videos we've watched in regards to how the game actually runs. So I've taken a couple of notes of actually how the game runs, so not all the pre-bits beforehand, but the actual game itself. The one video I watched had 3 gang members each side, and they essentially set up, and then to work out who goes first, you literally just roll a dice, highest goes first.
Yeah.
You then have an activation with one of your players, and you have 2 action points. And once you've used those 2 action points, they then get a turn with one of their members, and then they get 2 action points. So different actions have a different amount of points. So movement is 1, shooting is 1, aiming is 1. Things that are 2 actions are things like charging or being in hand to hand. So if you are in hand to hand and you kill someone, you then can't do anything else that turn. That's your 2 turns. Getting off the floor is an action, so you could drag yourself off the floor, but you can only take a shot. You can't then aim, and you can't charge. And aiming is a good one as well, so that adds +1 to your shooting.
Yeah.
So if you are knowing that you're trying to shoot someone and not actually go anywhere, then you can take that more careful shot. And shooting's very similar. It's it gives you your base thing, which will be either 3 up, 4 up, depending on who the sort of person is. And then you have modifiers after that. So your gun has a modifier depending on short or long range. And then there'll be different actions that cause minuses and pluses 1. And then aiming obviously adds another +1 if you're going to do that. And obviously cover 2. You get dice as well for ammo, for the amount of shots if you have a multiple shot gun.
Yeah, so it's effectively the sustained fire dice isn't it, really?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then you've got the things of, does your gun jam? Do you run out of ammo? Does it blow up? All of the stuff that we used to have in the old game. You can jump over terrain, but that takes out 2 inches of movement. Attacking in hand to hand is the same. If you charge, you get +1 attack. If you have an extra combat weapon, you get +1 attack. I was saying to Michael earlier that I noticed that because it's Forge World, the symbol's on the 6 rather than the 1. So when you roll a symbol, you're actually happy, not sad, which is nice. You don't kind of get excited you've got a symbol and then realise you remember it's
a 1.
So that's really cool. You got the injuries again, same. If you get wounded, you lose 1 toughness, and then if you keep losing toughnesses, eventually if you lose the amount of toughness you have, you go out of action. Yeah. Hand to hand. If you beat someone in hand to hand, they go out of action. Doesn't matter if they're down to the last wound, because you're kind of shivving them while they're on the floor and then you're leaving them to it. But when I watched it, the game looked really quick. It was fluid.
Yeah.
Only one of the people really knew how to play, and they still managed to work it out pretty quickly. The person remembered the rules who was the new guy sort of to it. And the game was finished in half an hour with the 3 models.
Well, I think the alternating activations is just so much better because you don't get that long period. If someone's got a gang of old where it might have like 15 or 16 models,
yes,
and they get to do all of their stuff with all of their models, and your opponent is just sitting there bored watching things happen to their guys.
Yeah.
Whereas at least like this, you get a chance to retaliate immediately. As soon as that model's finished activating, it's your turn to get revenge or to get out of the way and prepare for the next thing.
I think it's quite nice tactically as well, because you're thinking about who is the most important person to move at this time. Because if I can shoot this person and down them, then this person's in combat range. If he does down him, then once this one charges, he can take him straight out. So you're constantly thinking about who's the best person to go at what time, because if you can get to that person while they're still on the floor, you take them out of action. So
game of chess, really.
I think it's really cool. But no, I'm really excited by it. I mean, I haven't seen how it's going to be on the 3D terrain. I mean, it won't be much different. I think that with the compact sort of tiles, you kind of know automatically you're going to be in range. I mean, they took Overwatch out, and I read in the magazine it was because
it's a skill now.
Time, it's a skill, but also a lot of the time it used to be that 2 gangs would stand either side and both be standing there on Overwatch, just waiting for the
and not progressing the mission then, are you?
And so now it's a thing that only a couple of people could get and stuff like that. It means that you're having to get up close and personal, because especially when you used to be on 3D terrain, if you're on a particularly hard bit to get to and you're a Goliath and you're trying to trudge your way up, you're just getting shot at for the whole 6 turns. You may never even reach that person. So I think that's I quite like that.
What about the movement? I haven't watched any of the videos, other than the first one that Games Workshop issued. Is the movement based on a measurement or a number of squares? Because the tiles lends itself to squares.
No, it's using the length as well. It's using measurement.
Okay.
And different gangs have different amount of movements. So Escher can move faster than Goliath.
Yeah.
And then when you charge, it's your movement plus D3. So a Goliath won't really ever charge. You'd have to make sure that before you even took the risk of charging, if your movement is 4, that you've only got 7 inches to cover, because that's the maximum that you can move. And I'm sure one of the skills eventually might be that you get to re-roll your charge, or one of the cards might be one that you burn.
Or even the upgrades through the campaign system might be able to up your movement stats and things like that.
Yeah, but then at the same time, there was the swings and roundabouts that the Escher are much quicker, and you could keep out or get in if you wanted to, but the Goliaths were way tougher, so you would be shrugging off a few more shots that you wouldn't have done as an Escher that might have put you to the floor. And the Goliath can take that in the shoulder and then just carry on trudging along. But it looked really good, and I'm still really excited about it.
Oh, definitely. Seems really fun. Even though the video was, half an hour long?
Max, I think.
It might get a bit complicated with all the different modifiers, but...
I think once you've got those down though, once you play 3 or 4 games, you're going to know instinctively what those modifiers are. You've still got to think what you've got to add or take away, but you'll know that cover is this, and this particular gun gets a +1 if I'm close enough, and whatever.
Yeah, I think, and once if you're only playing one gang, you've only got a finite amount of possible weapons that you could have, and if 2 of them have las guns and 3 of them have pistol, eventually you start memorising it. What's what anyway, and then you're like, oh, is that cover? Yep, okay, that's -1, and then but I've aimed, so that's plus. And that's, I think, why the tokens are important, because I could see in the whole time that the tokens, they seem really pointless sometimes, but when you have your new game turn, you put your activation tokens back out on all your models, because it doesn't take more than 4 seconds before you can't remember whether that person's already done an action, and then you look, oh no, it's still got a token, so he can still go. I think they were really helpful, the wounds and all those bits and pieces. It all seems a bit finicky and a bit pointless, but when you start realising, no, I actually do need to know that one's taken a wound or that one's there.
Especially when you're the opponent, you can kind of visually see, that guy's still yet to move fire.
I don't want to get into his firing line, because if I try and go around the corner, he's still got a chance to plasma pistol me in the face.
Well, also that works well with the cards as well for the individual models, is that you can stack those tokens and reminders on that card rather than putting them on the board, because otherwise the board will get really cluttered and it just looks untidy. It takes away some of the aesthetic.
That's true.
And I did like, there was one point in there in the game, in the actual battle report in the White Dwarf, where you've got to be careful not to shoot past your own models, because if you miss the model you're hitting, you can hit your own models.
I didn't read that. Wow.
I think one of the Goliaths took out one of his own gang with a shotgun. And I think that really helps with the tunnels as well, because you're kind of like confined. You've got to think about, now I've just, because I've moved that model stupidly first, I should have fired that one first. And then now he's going to shoot over the top of his head.
And there's always that risk.
And going to las gun the guy in the head. So and I think you'll only learn from your mistake. Oh no, I will learn from my mistake. Well, I'll make mistakes. Whether I learn from them for the next game's a different matter.
That also works well with the projected game length as well. If the game really is that fast and furious that you can play within 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, then if you've got an evening with your buddy and you've been playing some games, you can rack up and go again.
Yeah, definitely.
And get 2 or 3 games in an evening. That wouldn't be unrealistic.
And then the thing would be like, we've had a 3-on-3 game. Whoever's still able to fight out of those 3 of each game well, now all the other guys have heard the commotion, and now my whole gang's in and your whole gang's in. All the ones that are completely out of action have to stay out, and then whoever's left, let's go and have another game.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we're all stoked about the new version of the game, and also when it comes out in the 3D bit as well. It's now going to be time for the showcase, so we'll have another break, and then we will be back on which is going to be about hobbying, hobby time, and where you can do it if you're in your house or outside. Okay, so welcome to section 3, which is the showcase. This is going to be about currently our hobby time and how we hobby, how we use our hobby space if it's for painting, or how we set up for playing games. Michael's going to be the main part of this start, and we will just chip in when we have something to say.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. So for me, generally, I try and get about 5 hours or so worth of hobby time a week. That's not an unrealistic amount of time to devote to something. That's normally just a mixture of I don't know, sitting watching TV, unclipping stuff, assembling things, or maybe doing some painting. But as for the game systems that I'm involved in, at the moment, at this exact moment in time, my main focus is 40k, and that's probably accounting for 3/4 of my time, really, whether that's doing stuff for hobbying wise, painting, modelling, making lists and stuff like that. A little bit of time is spent with Age of Sigmar. It's another game that I enjoy but don't get to play very often. I like Malifaux. I haven't touched that for probably a year now. I just haven't had the time to devote to it, so I'm a bit behind the curve with that. And the same with Gorka Morka. I had a bit of a moment after mini wargaming sort of rekindled my enthusiasm for that, because they'd done a little season of Gorka Morka stuff and they was having such a blast playing that I thought, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll dig out my orcs, make up a couple of games, and then never played it. But I did assemble them and paint them, but I haven't touched that since then. And then Blood Bowl recently, I've just recently painted up a team for an undead team. Necromunda wise, that's just starting to bubble through now, obviously, with the rumours and everything else, and now it's all confirmed. So at this moment in time, probably only 10% of my time is devoted to Necromunda. But I do tend to be very obsessive about stuff, and whether that's just a gamer thing that I'll just have something that I get fixated on and I just have to do that. So as soon as I've clicked that button for that pre-order, I'm sure that my 100% attention is going to be Necromunda, and everything else is dropped by the wayside.
I'm not 100%. I'm definitely going to be like 80% Necromunda, but I've still got some 30k custodes I need to paint, and then my army will be finished. But I'll definitely be throwing most of my time into Necromunda.
Yeah.
I guess that probably makes sense for doing a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
Yeah. I think 50% of my time is going to be Necromunda, 40k, because I've still got a Gene Stealer cult army to paint up, and with the release of the Tyranids Codex, I'm going to still be playing with those guys.
50% of your time on the Necromunda cultist, that's half of the amount of time you spent.
No, you know what? I'm going to set myself a target to get a gang finished in like a few weeks. So,
you heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first. So, and with the group, it should help me push me to get all that stuff done. So it's great, and I think I need that push really, because it's been hard recently to get my arse in gear, if I could say that.
You can say what you like, you're the one editing it.
I can still put the clean thing on for arse, it's fine.
Yeah, so it's been hard because I work in Bromley, which is...
You can't say it's been hard.
It can't say it's been hard.
Not in the same sentence as arse.
No.
Or model holding device.
Okay, explicit, I'll put it on this podcast.
So I'll take...
Eren, you're a bad influence on us.
So I work in Kent, so by the time I get home it's about 8:30, 9 o'clock, so I can probably only devote maybe an hour a night to a bit of hobbying. So my hobby time is really precious, and I get some stuff done on the weekends as well if I'm not with the family. So I limit myself to about, as Michael said, 5-6 hours a week. And hopefully with Christmas coming up and Christmas holidays, I'll be able to get all that Necromunda stuff all out of the door pretty quick.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to set aside a day. Like if you really can do that, you can achieve so much. Provided you've got a little plan of what you want to do, you can really crack on and make good progress if you've got a day that you can just write off. But family people, that's not necessarily an option because you've got wife, kids, and other commitments.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the bit here is when we're talking now, everyone having a slightly different reason as to why they can't dedicate literally all of their time to doing the hobby, because we all have different responsibilities.
Yeah.
And once our kids get older, you have less in regards to having to follow them around all the time, but then different stuff comes in and gets
after school clubs that you've got to drive them around to and stuff like that.
I know girls, one of mine is interested in football now, so I'm going to have to start doing that on Saturday mornings, I think. Being one of the parents that shouts on
going back to it, I think planning is quite essential to have all your stuff clipped, cleaned, ready to go, mounted on toothpicks or corks or whatever, so it's there for you when you get back from work or dealing with the kids or the wife. It's all ready for you to spray up and paint and put into a production line. So planning is like a big part, getting all your paints sort of ready, because I've got a box full of paints and it's pretty messy at the moment, so I need to get all my paints out, line it all up, what colours I need to put down first, and that saves you a huge amount of time. So if your hobby time is quite precious, planning can help, and having like a little diary of what colours you use.
Yeah, I think that's excellent because my memory is absolutely terrible. So I painted up recently a Blood Bowl Orc team, and I had a couple of extra models that I bought afterwards that I wanted to add to the team, and I'm now thinking, what the hell did I use? What colours did I use to achieve that look? I managed to get there just because I didn't put those paints away. They were just on a shelf somewhere. I thought, they're the colours. But if I hadn't done that, I would have been scratching around probably for half an hour just trying to guess what I used. But making some simple notes in a little journal or a little book.
Exactly.
That's definitely worth your new Games Workshop. 200
pages.
There's a thought.
Being a Blood Angels player, I've got about 30 different kinds of red.
Yeah.
I think I posted that up on the Overlord's
50 Shades of Grey
page, and
50 Shades of Grey.
And I don't think I still found the right shade of red.
No.
So you never do red.
I did the same with my Blood Angels.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, it is really hard. Especially when you've got a year gap between the two. I honestly can't remember what I used. This one looks way pinker.
Yeah, exactly. So
okay, so back to the hobby time. Back on track. At my hobby time, really, I'm spending most of my time doing assembly stuff. That's kind of what I'm enjoying doing at the moment, because I don't have to concentrate a huge amount on it. You can just sit there of an evening, you can clip things off the sprues, clean up some mould lines with a knife and stuff, and then you can start gluing things together. You don't need to be concentrating massively for that. So I'm finding that I'm enjoying that a lot. I'm probably spending slightly less time than that painting, but being a relatively quick painter, or damn quick painter, I can actually achieve quite a lot in a relatively small space of time. Playing wise, probably only accounts for 5% of my time. I get to play very, very rarely, so it's almost not even a statistic really. Reading, I'm a slow reader, and I find it very difficult if I'm trying to read a novel, if it's got long chapters in it, if I can't get to a concluding point like the end of a chapter, and I have to stop halfway through, then I'm just kind of screwed. I'll end up putting the book down, forgetting what I've read, and have to go back to the start of that chapter. So reading time is tricky.
Yeah, I know with me, it used to be that I had an actual time to commute, and I would listen to the audios of them. And like I used to listen to the Horse Heresy stuff quite a lot through audio, rather than reading, because I don't feel I have enough time. I'm driving to work. I drive.
Yeah, don't read.
Don't read and drive.
They're frowned upon. That.
Only if this is road signs.
I'm not using my phone. I'm reading a book.
That's all right then.
Yeah. So reading, I find I do struggle as well having time, because where you've got, I'm the same. I have about 5 hours a week as well, and if I'm not doing the main bit which I enjoy, which is the converting, the building and the painting, then I feel like I'm wasting the time I could be doing that by reading the book. Whereas if I'm having it through my ears, I can
do two things at once.
Multitasking. Wow. So audio I find is the only way I can get books. And I've got books, and there's some I need to read, and I've read a big whack of it while I was on holiday of one of the books, but annoyingly I didn't get to finish that, and I don't think I'm going to find time to do it, annoyingly.
Yeah, the other trouble I have with reading is that I've lost the ability to shut things out in my surroundings. But when I was a teenager, I used to be able to have the radio on, the TV on, have a conversation with someone, still read a book and digest everything that I'm reading. But now, the slightest distraction, whether it's TV, someone asking me a question, or just even someone having a conversation in the background, and that's it, I can't concentrate on what I'm reading, and I really struggle with that. Just getting up.
Yeah, I don't tend to read at home. Usually on my commute to work and back into London, I get quite a lot of reading done. So I've gone through quite a lot of the heresy books. I don't really enjoy the audio stuff as much. Don't know why, it just doesn't sink in. Yeah. As much as the books. So on my commutes I tend to do a bit of reading, sometimes do my army lists on my tablet, and then when I get home, that's when the hobbying begins.
You have a big old commute, so you've got that ability.
Yeah, I commute 3 hours a day, so there's a lot of time to fit in.
Yeah, and it's a shame to waste that time, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah, well, I could do a bit of hobby stuff.
Yeah, no, that's still good. As for the space that I actually do my hobby in, I've got a house which is nice. It's not mine, I'm only renting, but I've got a dining table in the dining room, but it's quite a nice table, and I don't like to ruin that. So from a playing perspective, I don't really want to be putting wooden boards on the top of it.
Well, maybe you should get yourself painting mat from Games Workshop.
Who's it you work for?
I've got I mean, we are going to talk about some stations and bits and pieces.
Yeah, that's right. So I use the dining table. It's my most comfortable area to sit and paint and hobby, because it's at a proper height and everything else. And as long as I cover it, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But for playing a game, I'm not really that comfortable playing a game on it, because I don't want to be putting bits of chipboard on the top to then spread out a table and everything else. So another option I've got is in the conservatory, which isn't massive. I've got another second-hand table that I got from somewhere, which is perfect for putting boards on top on, because I don't care about the table.
Yeah.
The only problem is that room is relatively small. So once you've got a 6x4 table set up, you haven't got a huge amount of room to move around, and you're a bit restricted. It's damned hot in the summer, freezing cold in the winter.
Standard conservatory.
So it's getting that balance of when you can actually use that space.
Yeah.
I have done some painting hobbying out there, because it's great from a natural daylight perspective.
Cool.
The house I've got, I don't know, it's probably a 1960s built semi-detached house, and the windows in it are so small that the natural daylight in the actual living space is terrible, whereas the conservatory, it's all glass all the way around, so it's nice and bright, and I can paint out there as long as it's not too hot or too cold.
I think now my eyes are failing me. Daylight is a really huge part of painting, like for just catching details and stuff, that when it dims down, I really struggle to paint nowadays. I think getting old eyes and such like, but daylight's really important for painting.
And now we're approaching winter.
Exactly,
it's the worst time of year to be. You've got all that time to hobby because you're hunkered down indoors.
Yeah,
you just can't do it because you can't see.
But I think
lights.
Lights going into that.
I'm sure we will discuss that a little bit further on in this section. But the reality of my hobby space, which I tend to use most often, is I've got one of these fold-out TV dinner table things, so I can sit on the sofa in the lounge, have TV on. I can sit with the missus, so I don't feel like we're sitting in separate rooms, doing our own thing. So we're kind of together, although I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah,
and we can still share time watching TV or movies. And generally I'll be watching stuff that I've already seen before, so I'm just listening to it more than anything. But that's got its own problems in that it's not the most comfortable position. Although it is a sofa, it's not that comfortable for hobbying because you haven't really got anywhere you can rest your arms. So you're doing stuff held in the air. You've also got carpet on the floor. So when you unclip your nice bit of grey plastic, that gets lost in the carpet so easily. Or they fall down the side of the sofa and whatever. So it's not ideal.
No.
And like I said, with the windows, the lighting in that room is appalling. You throw in a couple of energy saving light bulbs and then you're screwed. You just can't see a thing. So lighting is my thing that I definitely need to improve on.
100%. Definitely.
I'm a bit of a maverick when it comes to my hobby area. When I used to live in a studio flat in Warwickshire, I used to do all my hobbying on my bed. So I used to lie down on my bed and do my hobbying. Well, it's comfortable for me.
I
don't know.
Throw out my back. Like,
I was wondering why my back was aching. So I did a lot of hobbying on my bed. And I'm surprised at the results I was getting. They were still pretty good. The only downside to it was whenever I had a spillage, that would...
As you explained that brown stain on the bed.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was a white stain at one point, and trying to explain that to people.
Which was cooler as an explanation? Like, which one should I pick?
The brown one or the white one. Or occasionally when I used pigments, that would go all over the place because you can't get that stuff out. Working in a studio flat, it was really hard. I had to do my airbrushing on the carpet, but I didn't spray it on the carpet, of course. I had to put down bin liners and spray into those. I'm trying to make something out of a bad thing, and it worked, but it was tough working in such a small area. But now I'm back at home in London. I've got a huge table to work on. I've got all my stuff packed away in proper boxes. Got my paints in one box. I've got my bits and bobs, tools in another box, and everything's really handy if you kind of plan out your space. I've got my desk lamp with a daylight bulb, which we'll come to later on, and it's just easier and you get more stuff sort of done when you're not so kind of cramped. So hobby space is really essential, I think.
I mean, in regards to me, at the moment where we are in our house currently, I'm in the same situation of kind of in the living room. I've got two sort of coffee tables, and the smaller one comes out, and I'm kind of hunched over that. The cutting board goes on that, which is where I paint off. And then in regards to my paints, so I've got a big Tupperware box which is full of my tools, my paintbrushes, green stuff, all the moulding tools and bits and pieces, the basing materials. That can all come out in one go. So it's essentially just go to my cupboard, pull out that box. I've got 2 trays that I got from eBay, which essentially are supposed to hold nail varnish. So they're like stepped level things, and in there I've got all my paints, and they're all set out in the colour orders. So I know what my greens are and all of those bits. Just grab both of them, take them both out.
Sounds professional, doesn't
it? I just chuck all my paints in one box, and I'm like
drives me nuts
digging through it.
Well, this is the thing. I know that I only, with the 5 hours, that's kind of spread out over a week, so I might only have 2 hours here and there. I don't want to waste 30 minutes of it trudging through all my colours. And I mean, I don't have stacks myself, which is why it's quite simple at the moment. So I have all the greens next to each other, and then I can pull out the ones that I need just to do those models. And it's 3 things, so I just pull out a box, 2 shelves of paints, put them on sofa, and I'm done, and I can start painting. In the future, I'm going to be, like I've said to the guys, I'm going to be planning to move to a 4-bedroom place, and one of those bedrooms is going to be for a study for the girls' area, so they can paint, do their homework, but also for me to paint. And then that one will be where we'll talk about in a bit further about what we can do if you are lucky enough to have a dedicated space where you can leave everything and it be there and not have to put it in and out and in and out. And I'll talk about the positives and the negatives that I think that I'll have in the future when I have that 4th bedroom to be able to do that. But that's essentially me, and then I listen to the audio dramas in regards to books if I have any time. And in regards to gaming, the only place I can really play is the game centres. So I used to play at the Overlords, and sadly that's closing down. There's a place at the Adeptus Terra podcast guys. They have a HQ in Southend, so I'll go down there and I'll play there. And also I've played at Hate before in Hackney, and in Bedford I know I'm planning to play there's a gaming place up there. So and with the boards it's ideal, so I'll bring the boards out and I can play a game nice and quickly.
Yeah.
But I won't probably have many games unless I can somehow convert my garage, like we were saying about somehow some mystical pulley system. So and then also lower the board down.
Yeah, it just slows down, yeah.
That's my dream one day.
Yeah.
Whether I can live, I have been thinking about it, and I can't do it that way because if I pull the ropes, then I'm thinking about it. But one day, hopefully, I can have this mystical pulley system that lowers the board up and down.
You've got to have a dream.
Yeah. At the moment, it's at gaming places rather than at my house.
Well, following on from the dreams, I think my ideal setup for what I could imagine in the space that I've got available, if I could get a bureau, like writing bureau type bit of furniture, then I could have that as my dedicated hobby space, because it gives you storage, it gives you a working surface, and you've only got to pull a chair up to that and then you're good to go. It's going to be put up against a wall, so no doubt it will be near a plug socket, and then you can then get some decent lighting on what you're doing. And something like a writing bureau, being only maybe 2.5, 3 feet wide, that should be able to fit into most sort of British lounges. You should be able to accommodate something that sort of size. If you've got the extra space, then ideally a dedicated room would be fantastic. Having your own man cave.
Yeah, definitely.
That's just a dream.
That's hopefully what I'm going to get in the future.
Think that's what I'm out to. Well, I'm looking for an apartment or a house at the moment, and I need one with a man cave. It'll be perfect. I could do all my hobbying, leave it all about without someone complaining about all my man dolls being left around. And
why are we paying all this extra money for your room?
Pretty much.
No, it'll be the kids' bedroom in the future, I promise.
Yeah. Or paint down the sink, and it gets a bit messy. So having a dedicated space is like perfect. Yeah. I used to game at work as well, which came in handy because I used to work with loads of gamers.
Awesome.
And after work about 6:30, we used to take out the fat mat, lay it down on in one of the meeting rooms, get out our MDF terrain and start rolling some dice. So it was pretty good. So if you guys work in that sort of environment, ask around. People might be into a hobby. I was reading a White Dwarf the other day on the subway, and a guy comes up to me and goes, "What armies do you collect?" I was like, whoa, really thrown back. I didn't know what to say. So I just said, "I'm just starting." So he goes, "It's an expensive hobby, mate." And he said that he's doing some stuff with guys at work, which was quite funny. And the current job that I'm in at now, we've got a dedicated room for 40k, so the terrain's always up. And there's quite a few 40k fans. I work with 300 gamers, and we work in the games industry, so there's bound to be some 40k players. So ask around at work, you'll be surprised.
I work for Enfield Council, parent support, where I'm the only guy there, and everyone else is older than me, so I don't think that I'm going to have that same luxury or pleasure. And even if we did, I don't think Enfield Council would allow me to use their offices for anything other than efficient working.
Righto. Next up, we're going to look at gaming spaces, which is kind of what we're on. I think if you're going to be playing a traditional war game that's going to be needing a 6x4 table, the room that you're going to be needing, you need a 12x10 room, because you want to have at least 3 feet all the way around the table so that you can walk around it comfortably without bumping into it and everything else. And you also need room for some side tables, just so you can put your casualties on, or get your army out on the side, put your paperwork and your other accoutrements. So if you're lucky enough to have a spare room that sort of size, which really in this country, that's a double bedroom size room, isn't it? And not everyone's got that sort of space free, because if they're in a house that's got that sort of size bedroom, chances are you've got kids and there's either one or two kids in it. which then leaves you with options for garages and outbuildings, whether you've got garden space to put in a log cabin type summer house thing. And if you can convince the wife that she doesn't need that for sitting out and lounging around reading a book and entertaining, you can use that just for a gaming space, then go for it.
Saying that it's like when you used to play snooker or pool in a room in a pub
too
too small and you're having to queue up at random angles. It's very much like that. You just can't. It's not. If you can't get around it doesn't become enjoyable, and you're just knocking stuff over with your elbows and trying to stuck stuff under the table because you can't put it anywhere else, and it's a bit of a pain.
Going off on a other tangent, talking of snooker tables, one of my local pubs that I used to go to when I was a teenager, they had a little tiny entrance room to get into the pub, and they had a hexagon table in there, hexagon snooker table, and it spun.
Whoa.
So the one position you could stand in the doorway, if the door was open, and actually get a full length cue drawing back motion, you could spin the table around as long as you did it nice and slowly, because otherwise all the balls move.
Sounds like a right pain.
Spin the table.
It's not for the competitive players.
No, or the drunk.
Or drunks.
Yeah.
So why it was in a pub, I don't know. Anyway, that was a slight distraction. So when you're playing, you've got options. You either have a permanent place set up, so you've got a room set aside for that, or you have something that you have to get out and pack away each time. Yeah. They've both got their advantages and disadvantages, but most of the time it's dictated by what you got. If you've got the space and you can justify having a room that just doesn't get used very often, then have a dedicated space. Yeah. I'm guessing, my impression of guys in America, one, their properties tend to be larger than what we have over here, square footage wise, so they've instantly got more room anyway. Plus they also have a lot more properties that have basements. That's just standard fare for American property. So you've instantly got the whole footprint of your property spare underneath the house. And it might be a bit dark and dingy that your wife might not want to be going down there anyway, so that it's instantly a man
gets
touched.
It's my pleasure.
Dark and dingy, that sounds perfect for a game. That sounds perfect.
But and if you can get that permanent hobby space, like gaming space, it means that you can play large games or whatever you're playing, and you can pause the game halfway through. If one or the other person's got to shoot off for some reason, they can go and do that. You can leave the game, leave the models exactly where they are, and then come back to it. It's only an issue if you've got small children that have got access to that room, or pets or something. But if you've got to pack it away every time, then you have to consider that when you're playing a game. You think, I'd love to play a big game, but I've only got 3 hours, and realistically I can only play a short game in that time because I've got to put it all away.
Well, I guess that's great for Necromunda because you're only playing with like a handful of models, so you don't need a massive footprint.
And that instantly improves things, because even if you're playing a large Necromunda game, you're still only 4x4. So your space requirement is less.
But I was just thinking, now you're saying that, even if we did have to pack those boards away, like they do when they're showing you the battle reports, if you just have a piece of paper with blue tack, just literally mark on, well, my player was there, and that player was there, and that player was there. You can even just fold the boards away, and you can still put the boards back out, and exactly where that model was is marked on the board.
We'll take a snapshot with your phone. Just take a photograph of the board, and then you just refer to that.
I don't know if you guys have seen on Kickstarter where you can get tables that turn into gaming tables.
I've seen a few fold out.
So you take like the lid off, and it becomes like a gaming table. It's pretty good. You can get your wife on board. So it's a dining table you could put your linen on, and then when it's time to party, all of that comes off and it turns into a gaming table. And you could adjust the sort of the height that the gaming table sits in into the actual table, so you can have it quite deep or high. If you have like a Zone Mortalis kind of feel, you can set the table quite low, so you've got the walls around the edge of the table that you can play in.
Let's just buy the table and not explain what that is.
Wait
till never know.
Put it away and it's my little battle table.
Why is that tabletop 6 inches deep?
Exactly.
It's not very heavy.
And it comes with like grooves on the side that you can put your dice in or your bits and bobs. It's quite handy. It's Kickstarter at the moment. I forgot what it's called.
No, I'm sure we'll find a link.
We'll put a
Eren
link
will
up.
post it on the
I'll post it up.
Yay, not me.
And then when you're looking at gaming spaces that you want to be packing away, it's a case of keeping it all safe. So you can't leave your models out because one, something will get knocked over, broken, and whatever, and you're going to be a bit gutted, and you can't be angry at your kids or your pets for doing that because you shouldn't have left it out and everything else, and it just adds time to your games, doesn't it?
Yeah, it'd be a killer as well if you spent ages on a piece of terrain and it just shattered on the floor.
Yeah, when the cat jumps on it.
Yeah. I hate our cat.
I think I've got the link. The Table of Ultimate Gaming.
Oh, even
that's exactly
awesome.
what it says.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm going to have to have a look at that.
While they're furiously Googling, I'll continue to chat about the hobby spaces. Once again, the same with gaming. You can have a permanent setup or you can have a takedown setup. A permanent setup is infinitely better. If you've got the space, just do it, because it means you can get all your paints all arranged, like Tom was saying. You can get them all set up exactly how you want them. You don't waste any time when you're looking for, I need that red, I need that green. You just cast your eye across your line of paints, pick the one you want, and off you go. The same with your tools, having your tools where you want them, where you need them. You can leave projects half finished, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. But if you're painting a model and all of a sudden you think, I feel a bit tired, I'm going to leave that, I'm going to go to bed, then you can just leave the model on the table and not have to worry about it. Shut the door.
The only thing I worry about is dust building up on your model. If you leave it for maybe 1 or 2 days. I
think that's why I'm having a display case as well.
Yeah.
Glass enclosed display case, because I have that issue in my garage, because a lot of my stuff's in my garage.
Yeah. And
it does get dusty, and it's a bit, I always find it difficult to get off as well, the models. And cobwebs are a pain in the bum as well, especially if you're spraying a model and then, because I've got an airbrush and that's in the garage too, but dust is a bit of a pain in the bum.
I think the best way of dealing with that is going to be, if you can't get an enclosed sealed case or cabinet or something, then you can buy cans of compressed air.
Yeah. And just go,
you know, and then, okay, you're going to have to dig out your army that you're going to use that particular day or that game. You just set them up on a table and then just blow them off with a can of compressed air.
I see models just flying off the table.
Make sure they're secured to the table before you blast.
Hold the model before you blast them.
It seems like a good idea when I was saying that.
No, it's a good idea. Just make sure you've got a good, because some of my models are very light.
Yeah, you can't dust them, can you? You can't wash them realistically. You can't dunk them in a bowl of water.
You know what? I've done that a few times, but it's through different stages of painting, not the actual finished model. But I've dunked a model in water.
But then you're going to potentially screw up whatever you've done for your basing and whatever. That might react to the water, so that's not necessarily a good thing.
Don't do that.
To be fair, I was mainly gigging at you lining up the guys and blowing them off, to be fair.
I was rising above that. As soon as you've dragged us back into the sump.
Yeah. But actually, it should be okay. If they're varnished, you can't do any harm.
I've washed it with wet paintbrush before.
Yeah, it should be fine.
And then you pack away hobby space. You're just forever moving things around. You're forever taking stuff out of a cupboard, putting it back in a cupboard. You're increasing your risk of spilling something or knocking something over, because you're just moving things. You forget what paints and stuff you use on a particular model. Whereas if you've got a permanent setup, you could have your 5 or 6 paints just sat there, and they're the paints I'm using for this project, and they'll stay there until I'm done.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're putting them back into your boxes and back into your cupboard, then you can't forget what you're doing, and it just wastes time. And all three of us, we've all said that our hobby time is limited.
Yeah.
You know, so it's tricky. You don't want to waste time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, should we go into the groups and stuff, to the motivational parts, or have you still got...
No, I've still got some more if you want to.
No,
we can ramble forever.
Yeah, no.
And then we can keep our listeners happy with their extra long commutes.
Yeah.
This one's for you. I can't remember what your name was.
I'm going to find it now. You keep going and I'm going to find who suggested it.
So we've got another section which we're basically discussing hobby tips when you're on the move. So say you're away on business, or you've got to go somewhere for some training courses and things. You're going to be away from home, but you still want to use your downtime, your spare time, to do some hobby. The most important thing really is to be realistic on the amount of time you're going to get. If you're travelling alone and it's just you on your own, going to a hotel somewhere and then going off to meetings or training courses and things. In the evening, what are you going to do? You're going to go down to the restaurant, you're going to have an evening meal and sit in the bar being Billy No Mates. And that's not a lot of fun. So then you're going to go and sulk off into your room and then enjoy the hotel TV network, which is it's going to be rubbish. So that's an ideal opportunity of doing some solo hobbying. It's a bit different arrangement if you're going with a group of people to a training seminar or something, because chances are you're going to be socialising in the evening, so you're not going to get that spare time. You might be able to grab half an hour here or half an hour there, but you're not going to get an evening. So be realistic on the amount of time you're going to get.
Definitely.
And knowing what your work rate is, whether you're fast or slow or whatever, be realistic and set an achievable goal. It might be that you just take a sprue of something and you think, right, on this 2 days that I'm away, in the evenings I'm going to unclip all the parts, take all the mould lines off and glue the bits together. And that's a realistic, achievable goal, and you can come at the end of it and feel that you've done something.
Yeah, especially if then that means that all of the time when you're at home is on the bits that you actually enjoy doing. The converting and the painting and everything else. It might seem a bit lame when you're doing it, but it makes a massive difference when you're not having to do that in your...
And all those bits of shaved off plastic are in someone else's carpet.
Yeah,
so that's it. I only just thought of that.
What have you been doing in there?
That's right, if everyone's doing it, it'd be all over the bed, won't it?
Yeah, all over
someone will wake up in the morning and have lots of bits of plastic stuck to the side of their face.
Well, I woke up once and...
I'm sure someone fell asleep.
Yeah, it was me. I woke up once and what was in my bed? It was something, it was like a plastic leg or something.
I'm sure if someone was modelling drunk as well and then woke up with some model glued to their face.
That's entirely possible.
But that's a good idea actually. Doing a bit of sprue work clipping while you're on business trips.
It's just so you don't have to concentrate too much, but you could generally you're going to have like a vanity desk or something there which is going to have a light so you can see what you're doing. So you've got a reasonable hobby space.
Yeah, because I know Sam from the Adept of Terror, he was taking his nights to work and in his lunchtime, because he had a point where he could be separate, he could just do a bit of work on them.
Yeah.
And
you're just chipping away, and it's all work that's got to be done to achieve the model or the army or whatever you're trying to do. Then it's all time. So if you can squeeze an hour, 2 hours or more, then go for it. So you either set yourself a target of what you are going to achieve, whether that be a single model or a unit or whatever. You're going to need some sort of carry case to put all your tools and your paints and supplies and bits and pieces in, and then boxes and bags for all the little bits and just your normal accoutrements. The only word of warning I would say is keep your glues separate to the models, because I had a trip up to Nottingham a few years ago and I set myself the target of gluing a load of the Dark Vengeance cultists together, because I had a job lot of them and it had only just been released. So I took all my tools, I had a craft knife, my clippers and everything else, and I must have had 60 or 70 of the cultists all being glued together, and that was fine. Put all the stuff back in box to come home afterwards. I got home, opened the box up and the glue pot had leaked. So liquid poly all over, and merrily 20 of the cultists were all stuck and melted together because the glue had got on them and just...
But on a positive note, you did what you were supposed to have done, which is
glue them all together.
just a bit more glue than I was expecting. So keep your glues separate. That's a top tip.
That does sound like a good tip. I don't know. I think I might have cried a little bit.
I wasn't impressed.
No.
I wonder if you showed that picture to Games Workshop, they might have, sent you some new ones to replace them.
They might have
like a goodwill thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of my own fault. I feel bad because I felt bad.
I bet you did.
But I did have a lot of them, so I wasn't that bothered. So next up, desk lamps. What do you guys use? Because I've got a little bulb holder and a little clippy thing that clips onto a shelf next to where I'm sat. It hasn't got a lampshade on it, so the light isn't focused on anything in particular, and it gets damned hot. Okay. It's kind of right next to my head, which is far from ideal. So what do you guys use for lighting your hobby space?
Well, I have two different lamps. One is like an old school lamp where the bulb just gets ridiculously hot, which is handy when I'm doing green stuff and I'm wanting to dry bits out while I'm working.
Yeah.
I have another one which I acquired from work, which they're not using them anymore, and I think it's a daylight bulb. It's bright as hell, and it doesn't ever get hot, but my wife doesn't like that one so much. I'm going to use it in my new room because it's so bright that she can get it in the glare of eye, and it gives her a headache sort of thing because it's that intense sort of thing. I like it, but I'm going to use it for my single room where I'm not blinding anyone else.
Yeah.
But for the moment, I'm just using the table lamp because I'm then not irritating my wife at the same time. But
so just a bog standard sort of table lamp. Okay.
But it's not ideal. Yeah. The other one's much better. But
I think lighting is really essential because the amount of times I've woken up the next day and looked at the model that I've just painted, it's like, oh my god, I'm really bad with that sort of stuff, so I have to sit and repaint it again. But I've got myself a desk lamp with a daylight bulb. So a daylight bulb is you just get the actual true light, no yellow tint, so you can actually see the colours that you're painting. And that bulb cost me about £5, but I've had it for about 6-7 years. Okay. So it's never blown out, and it's paid for itself really. So yeah, daylight bulb kind of essential.
What about like LED type lights? Because with the LEDs, you're not going to be getting any heat.
Yeah, that's what I'm pretty sure my one is. I mean, when I'm looking at the hobby station in the future, I've seen some really cool ones that kind of look like the Wembley
like an arch.
Yeah, and they've got bulbs all the way across, and
so you get all light from all different angles.
Yeah, and they look amazing. So I'm going to try and find how to get one of them. I'm hoping for where I'm working, because if you can get the light from everywhere, then I'm never blocking myself.
Yeah.
And it's light.
That's the trouble I have. The light I've got is over my right shoulder, or just off to my right. So as soon as I get to a certain angle or position, I've just put my model in shadow. So I might as well not have it. It's tricky.
I will look for an arch, but I have to try.
Yeah, that'll be good if you can share that. I might have to pick one up as well, because I've got only one light, and then you've got the room light as well.
The other thing I've contemplated, talking about your dodgy eyesight, which my eyesight is just as dodgy, is getting one of these magnifying lamps. So you get like a magnifying lens, and then that'll have an LED ring around the outside. I think I'm probably going to be getting one of those because my eyes are not good.
I mean, I've got one myself. I only find it's helpful when I'm right. We had some technical difficulties. I'm getting a little bored of saying the same thing over and over again. So fingers crossed. I'm actually going to listen to this one more time just to make sure. Hey, it all seems to be working again for the moment. So I will discuss again what we were talking about the
magnifying glass.
Thank you. So for the last time, because I'm not going to talk about it again if it doesn't work, the magnifying glass is something that will work if you're needing the model to stay in one place and you're doing a very fine piece of detail. Eren's struggling because he's heard me say the same thing 4 times. But once you've moved the model, the focal point goes out again. So if you're needing to keep the model in place, it is helpful. But as soon as you need to keep turning that model, I find that I struggle with mine. But that's it for the painting and modelling and hobby bits. I'm just going to talk about the Facebook groups. We have my Facebook group, the Frayed Paintbrush Hobby Progress Group, and there's other ones such as 1 Hour a Night, and there's other hobby progress, other things on Facebook. Mine, you will post a picture at the beginning of the month or just state what you're going to be doing for that month, and at the end of the month you'd post up, I'll put a little showcase thing up where people can post their pictures, and then at the end I'll correlate all the pictures together, and there'll be a final monthly commitment showcase where everyone's pictures that have posted, everyone can see what everyone's been completing. I know it helps me. I need to be able to essentially push myself to say I'm going to do something, and then it's that little bit of extra push to keep me going and not leave my paints in for just one more night. I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it the next day. It will actually push me and make me carry on, so that I'm able to say, well, I've got 2 more days left. I could just get that last little bit of painting done and then get it finished. And that's what helps me carry on my models, because you can get into a slump quite easily where you're not recording. I was literally just about to say apologies if my voice keeps going, but I'm going to keep looking at the desk, and then because my brain was thinking about that, I instantly said recording. Sorry, it's been a hard last 20 minutes. We can have a bloopers reel if required, if everyone can be bothered to edit it. But yeah, so
that one's staying in.
That's staying in. Yeah.
This, so it helps us just keep going. It helps me keep going, and it helps me just push to do that last little bit that might have been the thing that's going to stop me getting in a slump of just sitting on my butt and watching television, when I could just be finishing off that last little bit of model. So finally, that part of the showcase is done. We're going to stop for a sec, and then we'll be back with the thank yous and bits and pieces. Oh, and Michael can talk about the game he actually played. The old version of Necromunda.
Woo! Ish.
Welcome back to section 6. This is games played, which is going to be taken by Michael because he's had a game.
Yay! This is going to be the section of the show that's not often going to get used, but at least for this time it will be. Essentially, I actually got to play a game, which was really cool.
Nice.
I really wanted to play a version of a game using the old original system because I haven't played that since the 90s. And I wanted to try and get that game in before the new set of rules dropped, just for a nostalgia trip really, more than anything. Not that I'm that hung up on wanting to play the original game. So I was quite pleasantly surprised when one of my old gaming buddies phoned me up and said that he'd be free to come round last week and actually get a game in. So that caught me out by surprise, so I quickly, hurriedly cleared the dining room table ready for his arrival, and bundled together, putting the Necromunda scenery together. Unfortunately, because I was in a bit of a panic and a bit of a rush, I did damage a couple of the bits of cardboard, which I'm a bit annoyed about, but I think they'd be recoverable, and by the time they're actually glued together on bases, you're not really going to notice. So we both had starter gangs. I was using my Corridor gang and he was using his Orlocks, and his gang probably had maybe 15 or 16 members in it. He had lots of Juves. Whereas my gang was a bit more elite and only had 10 models, and I really felt outnumbered on the game because these guys, I was peppering away at him from a distance, and there was a lot more shots coming back than what I was putting out. It was just a basic gang fight over a bit of territory, and we was playing on the dining table, which is quite narrow, only maybe 3 foot across, so we were starting a little bit closer than what we should have been officially for that scenario. But really, we were just bumbling our way through the rules and having a bit of a laugh. What else was there? The table layout, we managed to get the scenery on 3 or 4 different levels, so we got to play around with the full 3D-ness of Necromunda, what it's all about. I couldn't find my sustained fire dice. They was out in the garage somewhere, so we just fudged that and just made up whatever the results were on the D6. I think we had a 6 being a jam, a 5 being 3 shots, and so on and so forth. Also, another mistake that I've discovered that I made, my gang had a guy with a heavy flamer, which I was merrily spent 2 turns moving him across the table to get into a position to use his flamer. And then when it come to his turn to shoot, looked in the rulebook, because we was using the proper Necromunda rulebook. There was no information in there about heavy flamers because that wasn't an option. So when I'd created the gang, I'd actually created it from the community set of rules, and I thought, oh, blow it. So we decided that he didn't have a heavy flamer after all, we actually had a heavy stubber. But by which point he was already halfway across the table and in quite a vulnerable position. So we didn't
have a flamer, because I know they had the flamers.
Yeah, there was rules for flamers, but not for the heavy flamer. And seeing as I paid loads of points or credits to have a heavy weapon on him, plus his extra ammo and lots of other things. I wanted to have some sort of heavy weapon.
Do they move slower, the heavy?
He wasn't moving slower, but it's like a move or fire type thing, I think. But anyway, he got a gun down because he was in the middle of nowhere. Whereas he should have been standing at the back.
Spent all that time walking up, and then his heavy flaming disappears.
And he realised his stomach.
I picked up the wrong gun. So that was quite comical. We did alright with the rules. We sort of flapped our way through it and flicked through the book occasionally. And it was all good fun. It was just a real blast just to play something different, because I hadn't played this, like I said, since the 90s, and I played a lot of 40k and Age of Sigmar and stuff like that, and it was just fun. You know, all the modifiers for your shooting, and like sometimes you'd get a situation where you need 6s to hit, which is just rubbish, but you're going to try it anyway. And it was all good fun. At the end of the game, it was a complete whitewash. I just got completely trounced. It was my own fault for the mission itself. Didn't really have a time limit or an urgency to get to grips with anyone. So what I should have done is held back a bit more, got into a good position, and just kept chipping away at shooting. But I didn't do that. I just ran forward, shooting a few times and trying to get into combat.
Heavy flamer would have been good for that.
It would have been very handy, yeah. So at the end of it, my friend's gang, he sustained 2 head injuries on a couple of random models, which wasn't really of any consequence. Unfortunately, and I captured one of his guys. Unfortunately, he captured my leader and also one of my other gangers, and 2 of my gangers died.
Oh, bloody.
So my 10 guys went down to very few.
Yeah.
So we did a little bit of a prisoner exchange, so I got my leader back.
Right.
In exchange for his guy. So I've currently got one guy that's AWOL,
right,
being looked after by his gang. So if we do play another game using these 2 gangs, then it will be the rescue mission.
Cool.
Just to try and get him back. And then because I lost the game so badly, he actually stole one of my territories. So he acquired a mine, which is actually quite a lucrative bit of territory. So I've come out of that really badly burnt.
Yeah,
but
the opposite of burnt.
The opposite of burnt.
So how long did that game take?
We've probably played for maybe an hour and a half. Right. So it wasn't a particularly long game. And bearing in mind we're flicking through the rules because we can't remember how to play and everything else. And it was just a nice, relaxed affair. Yeah, we were just letting things slide if we weren't too sure, and just having a roll off for this and whatever. It was just nice to chill out with an old buddy, you know. So my gang is completely decimated. His one's doing quite fine and dandy. So if we don't end up playing the old Munda rules anymore, I'll be quite happy about that. Because then my gang can just get pushed. So as soon as I got my hands on the new Gang War book, I shall try and adapt my gang to fit in with whatever the new setup is, and then I'm looking forward to using them models on the new version of the rules.
Awesome.
Did you notice any similarities between this set of rules and the new set of rules coming out?
No, I think it's more the differences really. The fact that when you're activating your gang, you're doing all of your stuff
first, and then
so for me, we're having a relatively small model count compared with my opponent. My turn was relatively quick, whereas his turn was a bit longer because he had sort of half as many models as what I had. Whereas with the new system where you're alternating backwards and forwards, at least the first portion of that turn is going to be everyone's doing something until I run out of models, and then he'll just rattle through his one. Yeah. But it was good. I really enjoyed it. It was nice just to chill out and have a nice fun time.
Brilliant. And that's the end of the gaming part. So finally we'll get through to the thank yous and everything else, which is the next segment, and then it will be goodbyes. So if this is recording still properly, then we will have a break and you will actually get to hear this. So, section 7 is the thank yous and to discuss the Facebook group. So, I need to thank quite a few Facebook groups and podcasts. So, regards to Facebook groups, Necromunda Worldwide, the Bedford group, Overlords, Hate, all of those guys for allowing me to post our first episode up on their groups, to allow you guys to actually know that they exist. Also the Geno 5.2 podcast, the Adeptus Terra podcast, and the Sons of Heresy for discussing this group on their podcast. That was really cool. Thank you guys. And lastly, just to remind you that we have the Chronicles from the Underhive Facebook group. So obviously we have this podcast, but we also will be posting our pictures, things that we've discussed in the podcast itself. We'll be posting them on there, so it makes a bit more sense when you listen and you're trying to work out what we're actually talking about. So people are on there now already being quite interactive and talking and messaging about what they're excited about. The group's really cool so far, but
it's grown quite a bit in the last few weeks or a month since you guys recorded the last. Yeah,
it's going really well.
I think it's because we're taking this from a slightly different angle, perhaps to what other groups or podcasts are going to go for. Because we're not game focused. We're more about the hobby side of things. Then it's going to appeal to a different sort of person, and that's what our sort of Facebook group really is also concentrating on.
Super. So thank you, everybody. We are about to say goodbye, and then you'll just hear our normal outro if Eren's edited it.
It's in there, so it'll be in there.
I'm just really hoping to hell that this is all recorded and we can convert this over, because I'm going to have a little cry if it doesn't work. So
it'll be good.
Yeah, so we'll say goodbye for this episode of Chronicles from the Underhive, and we'll hope to see you soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. And that was the end of Chronicles from the Underhive, a Necromunda and Post Apocalyptic podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. All the things we talk about in this podcast can be found at the Chronicles from the Underhive Facebook group. We will post up links to all of the websites we discussed and the current projects we're working on. Come and join us and post up your Necromunda projects. We hope to see you there, and may you never roll a double on your gambling debt.